All right, welcome to part 2 on the DS650. As you guys know, we picked this up a couple days ago for 900 bucks. Got it back home, and the engine rotates, which is nice. Cranks over with the starter, but we're not getting spark. I tried diagnosing pretty much everything. I spent another probably 5 hours on it yesterday trying to diagnose this thing, and it looks like we're getting low voltage coming out of the stator. And we found out that the little wires right here are kind of split on the starter coil right here. So basically what this thing does is every time this flywheel comes around, there's a spot on it right here. You can see that raised part? That comes almost in contact with it. I think it's like 0.03 inches away from that. And every time that goes by, it signals the CDI up here, and it tells it when to spark. So I think this tested okay though. I tested this and we're getting like 225 ohms, and the reading is between 190 and 300. So we're good there. I do have to check and see if we're getting voltage out of here. It should be like I think it's like 0.04 AC volts coming through from this thing, between 0.04 and 0.07 or something like that. Yeah, the stator for sure is not getting high enough voltage. I think we were getting 4 volts from the stator. So the stator has these 3 yellow wires, and the stator is in charge of charging the battery. So I don't think that's the issue, because that's just basically charging the battery. So I feel like there might be a ground issue somewhere. Another test we did was go to the CDI, and there is a wire coming in with, it's supposed to be 12 volts. It's a red wire. Let's see if I can find it. This red wire right there. Oh, let's see it on the other side. You can see there's a red wire right in there. It's hard to kind of see, but there's a red wire right here. Oh, yeah, there. Red and black right there. Coming in with 12 volts. The ohm reading between the red and the ground should be like 450 ohms, and I'm not getting anything. So there's like no continuity or anything between the red and the ground, which is very strange. So I was checking yesterday all the wires to see if anything was disconnected or not right, and everything seems pretty good on it, which is really weird. There's a couple fuses I checked back here, one right here, and then another one up front that I found. And all the fuses checked out good. I checked all the continuity between all of them, and they're all transferring that voltage between everything. So, you know, I'm kind of stumped on the wiring at this point. I checked pretty much everything, and I can't figure it out. I think we might order a new pulsar coil for it and attempt to just try that, because I'm kind of at a loss right now. I've never really been stumped this bad on wiring before, but yeah, we'll eventually get it. Not going to give up yet. But today I want to put the top end on. We've got the head right here for it. Both these are usable. This head is the one that had the bent valves. You can see those are pretty bent in there, or they could just be stuck, either stuck or bent. I'm guessing they're bent just by the way they're in there. And this one's the good one, so we can use this one today. What we're going to do is mock it up. I don't have the gasket set for it, but we're just going to mock it up and see if all the parts fit on there. You can see, so these are pretty good. We have to kind of inspect this to make sure all the valves go down and everything. But looks like all the parts are there, and it looks like all the surfaces are nice and clean. And let's just check out the surface of that one more time. Yeah, everything looks really clean on it, so that's good. We've got the cams over here. There's 2 sets of cams, so we're probably going to use this one. Looks like it's all put together already. So we'll have to kind of check that out. Make sure those are good to use. But I got a diagram, so we can kind of try to find where pieces go. But both cams look usable. And then we've got this thing too. The guide we need to put in as well. So I think we should have all the parts. We're going to find out today if we do and what we need to order. But let's get going with that. We're going to kind of just try to mock this up and get this thing pieced together. All right, so we're gonna inspect the head here. We're just gonna make sure the valves go up and down on this thing, that they're not stuck. So let's just push down with a little bit of force. Yeah, that one's not stuck. That one's good. That one's good. That one's good. They're all coming down. Just look for any wear in here. Everything looks pretty good. None of the holes are stripped out. So everything looks good there. These actually have, I believe these are the shims. You can see in the buckets. So these are kind of weird. I don't know if there's anything on top of those. Yeah, so these are the buckets, and usually the shims lie right underneath here, then lay in the actual valve thing. But on these, they're on the top of it, so it's kind of a little different. You can see. So these go on the top instead of on the bottom of the bucket. So these just go like that. We're just gonna check those, make sure they're all good. We're probably gonna have to buy some new shims for this thing. You can see all the buckets are good. At least that one is so far. Only for cylinder 3. Looks good. Bucket looks good. All right, let's check the other side of it. Looking pretty good. Those are laying nice and flat on there. Before we actually do the full assembly, I might take these valves off and relap those. Ports look good for the exhaust. Not too much carbon built up in there. So let's try installing this thing quick and get this bolted down. Doesn't want to just sit right in there. So that's, we have to deal with that. I don't know why that's not going on. You can see there's no room in there. All right, I think I found out why that wasn't fitting on there. That bolt is missing right there. When you lift up the engine, it goes up a little bit higher. If I can get it. Supposed to be right there. Aha, I think I found it right here. Let's see if that one goes in there. Looks like it will. All right, that fit nicely in there. Let's see if we can get the head on now. I think she's going on. Let's see. Gotta get the timing chain up through there. Alright, so the head's on there. So in order to get the head on, I had to remove that bolt again and then lift up the engine even further so that little lip could go past this bar right here. That was the only way to get that on. So that's why they had the bolts off right there and right there, because you need to lift the engine up. So that's reassuring. I didn't think they thought anything was wrong with the bottom end or anything. I think they just had those off just because, and they're checking out the top end. So that's a good sign. We're gonna start piecing together this cam now. We're gonna try to find the bolts for right here. You can see down here, one right there. One goes right there with some washers, and then a couple of nuts right here go on here. So let's try to find those and then start working on the cam. All right, found a couple bolts. These are gonna go right here. If I can get to it. One goes right there and then one goes right here. We'll tighten those down a little bit and then we'll go find these nuts. Alright, found a couple nuts. These are gonna go one right here. One right here, one right here, and one right here. So let's get those in. We're not going to tighten those down too crazy because right now we don't have a gasket between the head and the cylinder. So, all right, those are all tightened down. Looks like now we have to find a couple bolts for right there. You can see in there, 1, 2, 3. I don't know if there's any on the other side. I'm guessing they're little Allen bolts. We were able to find these 3. I think those are the right ones for it. But let's get this little guy on there. This thing goes right up here like that. That one goes right there. All right, those are on there. That's good to go. I think all that's left to do now is the cam. So let's try to figure out how this cam goes on here. Well, we forgot to put the cam chain guide in there. I guess that's supposed to go on before the head goes on. I did not know that. When we take this apart and then reassemble it, we'll have to remember to put that in there. But right now we're gonna get the cams on and go from there. All right, so for the cam, I believe these are the Allen bolts that go in there. Found a couple more. Put a couple in here. Now these guys have a washer on it too. Keep in mind. Right, so all 8 were here. That was good. Don't have to buy any of those bolts. So we'll kind of lightly tighten these down. All right, we're just gonna kind of mock up the timing here, since we can. We've got the cams on here now. Let me get a flashlight so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. On the cams, you can see the line right there, and one right there on that side, and then you can see it right there, and then one right there on that side. Those have to be parallel to the face of the head right here. So they are right now. Another tip is that the lobes, these are the lobes right here, these are going to be pointing towards the back of the bike, and then for the exhaust lobes, they're going to be pointing towards the front of the bike. You can see like that. So that means you're good to go there. We still have to set the engine to top dead center. To do that, we're going to come over here. There's 2 windows. One is to rotate the crank over, and the other one's for timing. So we're going to take a Allen, rotate the crank. This one's for timing, so let's open that guy up. So Allen key goes in here. We'll be able to see a little mark coming through right here. And that will line up Should be an arrow. Should be to like the center of it, so we'll rotate this until we see a little marking here. Alright, so you guys won't be able to see it. It's really hard to see on this one, on this model. But there's a little line right here on the actual flywheel. And you just line it up with the center of this. There's really no marking on here, which is weird to where you line it up with, but it's going this way, and you just line it up with that. And now we can get the cam chain on the sprockets, making sure that the lobes are pointing the right direction. Alright, since the timing's correct now, we can get the timing chain on. Making sure these sprockets don't move at all. They can move a little bit, but not too much. Alright, let's get this guy out of there. There, see how those didn't move? Perfect. Get that plate out of there. Now we can get the cam chain tensioner in. It's going to go back here. This is all there is for a cam chain tensioner. It's just this little dowel piece. You push into there. And then this big nut. Now I'll have to check my diagram to make sure that, yeah, that can't be right because it's really loose still. Oh, I guess that's probably due to not having the other tensioner in here on the other side. But yeah, that's basically it. That's how you time that. Now we can take a feeler gauge in between these and see where we're at for clearances for the valves. So let's do that next. We don't want them to be too tight, otherwise we'll bend the valve like on the other head. What I'm guessing is that the guy timed it wrong and that's how he bent the valves. There was a mark on the flywheel, so I'm guessing he maybe used that as his timing mark and it was a little bit off. Every time the valve went down, the piston came up, it bent it, and kept on happening. So if you don't time your machine correctly, you will wreck your valves for sure. Alright, so the valve clearances for the DS650 from 2000 is 0.004 inches to 0.006 inches. That's for the exhaust and the intake, exhaust intake. So let's quick check these. They're probably not going to be super accurate because everything's not tightened down completely. But 0.004 fits in there nice and easily. So that's good. It fits in that one nice and easily. Oh, these are tight. It's really common to have the intake tight though. So these definitely need to be re-shimmed right here. These are the intake valves, and yeah, on pretty much every quad I've owned, the intake get tight really easily. The exhausts are usually fine, but the intake get tight, and that was at the smallest setting. So these need to be re-shimmed. We do have a couple other shims we can test out here from the old head, and this is the one that was in it, so I wonder if these are shimmed correctly. We don't have to worry about the exhaust, those were fine, but I'm guessing maybe these intake ones will work. But we'll test those out a little bit later. We're going to try and see if everything else fits on this thing. We've got the cam cover, and we've got the cam cover bolts, and then we've got this thing, and this cover to put on. And then we've got to get the exhaust bolts in, and then we've got to see if the carburetor lines up. Alright guys, right in here is where the thermostat goes. So let's install that. We have the pieces for it. The only piece we're missing is it's called a corrugated washer. All right, so we got the thermostat on. I believe this line is what goes to that. Or maybe that's coolant that goes in there. So one of these lines goes to that. Oh, right here. So we gotta find that line from the coolant to there. So let's look for that. Oh, here it is. Aha! So that goes right on there. Another piece to the puzzle. There, we won't tighten those down because we have to take it off again, but there, perfect. That goes to there. All right, next up, we're gonna be doing the valve cover. All right, gotta get the valve cover situated on here. Here it is. Looks pretty decent. We've got like 3 of these, so we have our pick of the litter. Let's see. It's gonna go right like that. It should drop right in. There. And this line goes right to here. These are the bolts for it. Come with a little rubber grommet on the top. See if we can fit these in here. Yep. So it looks like we've got all the hardware for this so far. One back here. It's like putting together a puzzle, especially when I didn't take it apart the first time. Some other guy did. It's tough buying stuff that's already taken apart. I guess the guy that had this before me, he's rebuilt like snowmobile engines and stuff, and he said this was just too intimidating for him. I'm thinking he was used to the 2 strokes, and 4 strokes are a whole different animal to tackle. If you don't know what you're looking at, it can be pretty intimidating. All right, that's all good to go. We'll get that hose on there just so that can be done. And then I'm not sure where does that go to? There's a big line right here. Huh, where does that go to? You see this line? It had oil dripping out of it before. I thought it went to the head or something, but where does that go to? It comes from the oil right there. It's gotta go into the engine somewhere, I would think. Here's a line right here. Wonder if it goes to right there. I bet that does. Is that a big enough hole though? Yeah, it goes to right there. So the oil circulates through the engine, I bet. All right, let's try to tackle the carburetor now. Looks like we need a 2-into-1 section for that and a gasket. Let's try to find that. All right, this is what we're looking for right here. Already has the little rubber O-rings in there, so I think we're good to go. Let's see if these bolt holes match up. Yeah, so it goes like that. So the bottom ones are on the bottom like that. And that goes right in there. We'll have to see what kind of bolts work for that. This goes right in here. All right, we got that all situated. Just have to put one more bolt in it. And then we got the carburetor right here. That goes on that. And that's got all the... Basically just goes like that. And then this tube for the air box goes onto the carburetor. See if we got some clamps for it. I didn't see any clamps anywhere for it. Let's see. So all this stuff is pretty much left over then. Looking for some clamps. We need this. This is the chain. Is a master link on? Come on. Is a master link in here anywhere? Doesn't look like it. But yeah, we need to find some clamps for this. And I think that's pretty much it. These go to the spark plugs, which are right there. So let's just get everything in its spot. That one goes right there. This one goes to this one right here. That, like that. All right, those are hooked up. This yellow one goes over here. Where does this one go to? Oh, that's the carburetor. All right, the yellow one goes over here, plugs into the wiring harness right there. Plug that guy in. That. Everything else looks like it's all buttoned up. The starter has to go in still. That one goes in like this. Goes in like that. Alright, anything else look out of whack? This gasket's for the cover right here. That'll go in. Alright, are we missing anything? Oh yeah, the pipe. Let's try to figure out the pipe next. So we've got it coming out from right here. We need like a wraparound piece. Alright, I'm guessing one of these guys. I think it's this one. Oh, looks about right. Let's see. Alright, so it looks like we have all the pieces. We've got some springs over here for the pipes. Those go right there, I'm guessing. And then a couple bolts we need for those. And I think these are the ones we need for the pipe right here. And another little spring right there. Alright, I think we're good to go. And then these are for the engine mount. And then we've got the chain. And that'll go on there. Just have to look for a master link. But yeah, I think it's all complete now. I think it's all complete. Oh yeah, we don't have an air filter. I wonder where the air filter went to. And do we have a cap for the air box? Let's look for the air box cap. All right, we looked for the cover for right here, the air box, and couldn't find that. So looks like we need an air filter. We need a top end gasket kit, possibly some shims. Probably a pickup coil. What else do we need here? Oh yeah, chain link. And then I think that's probably pretty much it. Hopefully we don't need a new CDI. I'm hoping. So it looks like the gas tank goes on right here. The front plastics that go on. Alright, so that's all completed. Check that out. That is pretty sweet. That's awesome. Now we're just missing the chain. Oh, we need a battery as well. So we've got probably another $200 to put in this thing. And then we should be good. If the piston is good. I didn't check that out yet. I mean, I checked the top of it, but we don't know if the bottom of the piston's good or not. So if the crank and the piston are good, I think we're gonna be golden, and we're gonna have a running decent quad for, what was that gonna be? $1,100. So now we're just waiting on the top end gasket kit to come, and then a couple of the wiring things we gotta get figured out. We gotta get some spark, then we can try starting this thing up. It's gonna be really fun. All right, stay tuned for next video, guys. We're gonna be getting the top end together, getting the spark figured out, and hopefully doing the first startup. So it was definitely fun trying to figure out where everything went on this thing, and it's my first time doing it, so it took a little bit longer than expected, but that happens when you're new to stuff. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Until next time, we are out.